Okay, now let's try to understand that how to handle the exception. So I'm just removing that whatever things that we have written uh, over here that was related to like errors. Okay, so just uncommenting the things, few of the things like this. Now here you can see that how the exception can be handled. So the I would like to show you this example first. That let me remove this from here, and I'm just putting onto the top. Okay, and for a moment I'm putting this into the comment. Okay, so my program is not having any error. Now here what was happening, if you can recall our earlier session, that when the exception was generated from here, suppose if user has provided the value of b is equal to 0, at that time this line was not executing. Okay, that was the issue, right? So how can I solve the issue? This issue can be solved by handling the exception. Now what is the what do you mean by handling the exception? Handling exception means that you supposed to write the statement which may generate the exception within a try block. Okay, right? Like here in our example, this integer answer is equal to a divided by b may generate the exception based on the user input, right? And this try block would be followed by the catch block like this. Okay, so this is the way through that you can handle the exception. Okay, so what will happen, what would be the advantage of this, that whenever the exception would be generated over here, right, that exception would be handled in the catch block so that the remaining statement can be executed. Okay, now let me just declare this integer answer outside the block like this, that answer. Okay, and here I'm just going to use the answer. Okay, and in the cache argument, I have to write the type of exception which may be generated. Okay, so here the type of exception is which one? The arithmetic exception. Okay, and here inside this I can write like that. I can write a message that is provide proper inputs. Okay, right? And after that, what can we have, that here it will produce the answer, means it will run this statement. Okay, that obviously that answer would be wrong. Okay, so here I can write like that, answer is 0. Okay, that answer is initialized with the value 0, and when this should be done, this should be executed if the answer is correct. Okay, so obviously that, let me put this statement over here. If there is no exception, then and then this answer is going to be print. Otherwise, that here I'm just writing that message, some sample message, that after exception handling, kind of. Okay, this is just for the understanding. I have written this message. Okay, so here whether the exception would be generated or not, this statement is going to be executed. Okay, so let me show you that what is going to happen over here. So let me run this program. There is something wrong on the line number. Yeah, so here that I obviously I have to specify the exception type, but along with that, the name of the reference variable of this type. Okay, so here I'm just writing the ex exceptions. Okay, so that is what I have to specify. It is just like the method declaration. Okay, like as we declare provide the argument in the method, the same kind of thing we supposed to do with the cache. Okay, let's run this, and here it is asking me for the input. So let me provide the input 10. Okay, and 5, correct input I'm providing. So what it's supposed to print, it's supposed to print the answer followed by the statement that is after exception handling. It is not going to execute this because no exception is going to be generated. Okay, so let me hit enter, and here you can see that the division of a by b is 2. Okay, so this is what executing, and after that we have written after exception handling, so that is what executing over here. Forget about or ignore this particular exception which is generated because of this parse integer. Okay, we are going to handle it also, right? So here that after exception handling is executing successfully. Let me run the program once again. Okay, it is asking me for the username and password. So sorry, not username password, it is asking me for the inputs, right? So the first one, let's say 10, another one 0. Now it should print what? It should print this: provide proper inputs followed by after exception handling. Let me hit enter over here, and here you can see that provide proper inputs and after exception handling. Okay, so earlier what was happening, that our program was terminating from here itself, right? It was not executing the rest of the statement, and that is what happening over here, right? So this is how we handle the exceptions. So the exception can be handled with the try and catch statement like this. Okay. Similarly, if I want to handle the exception over here, right? Same thing that I can do. I can have the try and catch. I'm just putting the statement over here, and here I'm writing catch, and here the type of exception would be that number format exception, right? Number format exception, and here I can have like name like this exception, and here I'm writing that message that the string is not having proper integer value like this. Okay, so this is a message which is going to be printed instead of this thing, right? Okay, so now let me run the program. Let me put this thing in the comment because I don't want to keep on executing this thing. Okay, so I'm just putting all this thing in the comment. This is also not required. Perfect. Okay, so here now let me run this, and here you can see that we are getting the exception that is string is not having a proper integer value. Okay, now this exception we are getting, that is because of something else. Which one? We are getting this from here. Okay, similarly, if I want to handle the exception over here also, what I supposed to do? Now you can easily guess that I must have to write the statement within the try, like here, that both of the statement may generate the exception. So I'm putting both of the statement inside the try. That is possible, like try catch. Okay, and here I can write the exception, that is the string index out of bound exception, right? And this may generate the null pointer exception. So like what I can do, that I can declare that null pointer exception also like this. Okay, so this how, sorry, null pointer exception, let's say e2, let me give the name e2, and here I'm giving a name that is, sorry, here I don't require to give any name. Okay, so here that this statement says that the exception could be that string index out of bound exception or null pointer exception. Okay, both can be catch over here. If the exception would be generated, both would be catch over here, and you can generate the message from here that like s out, something wrong is happening, kind of, right? So this is how the exception could be handled. Okay, let me run the application and let me show you. So here you can see we have the message that is something wrong is happening over here. So this is how we are handling the exception. The last exception that is occurring over here, that also I can handle like this, that try and catch. Okay, so here the exception type is the array index out of bound exception. Okay, I can provide any name over here, the reference variable name. Okay, and the message would be that array index is out of bound, kind of. Okay, and let me run the application, and here you can see. So this is how we have handled the exception. Now let me go back over here, and here that we have the similar thing, that exception, we have to handle the exception. Okay, so here that while writing this statement, here also I have to write this into the try and catch. Okay, but this I have to do before compiling the program, right? Before running the program, otherwise it will keep on throwing you the error that this statement is supposed to be handled before compiling. Okay, so here that the exception is the class not found exception. Let me give the reference name C, and here I can write a message that class is not found, kind of, right? Okay, so now everything is perfect, that we have handled the exception in our way, right? Now one more thing that it may happen, like suppose that here we have the example of the file not found exception, yeah, here itself. Okay, so this also, let me write inside the try and catch like this, and the catch, the exception is the file not found exception, F. Okay, I can assign any name, don't worry. As out that file is not found. Okay, now here guys, whenever we open the operating system resource, like the file is the operating system resource, at that time our responsibility is what, that we must have to close that file. Okay, if the file is open here, that you have opened the file index, right? So your responsibility that you must have to close the file, right? So now suppose here the exception gets generated or not, right? In both of the case you require to execute the statement, that is a file dot close, right? So now here where I supposed to write, okay, so what I can do, that I can write the thing inside another block called finally. Okay, and inside that I can write like file dot sorry, that it would be let me take this outside the, declare this file reader outside this. Okay, file reader. Okay, and here I can write like reader dot close. Okay, reader dot close. Okay, it is showing me the error. What the error is? The error says that variable reader might not have been initialized. Okay, so let's initialize just by the null reference. Okay, this is perfectly okay. No, obviously it is not okay, because now it will show the exception. Okay, that it's could be the exception. Okay, so here what else, yeah, it shows the exception, that the IO exception, that close may generate the IO exception. Okay, so here you can see that the statement may also statement inside the catch or finally may also generate the exception that you're supposed to write inside the try and catch. That is also required. Okay, so what I supposed to do over here, that let me write inside this try and catch. Okay, so try, and the type of exception is which one? IO exception. Okay, I'm not going to write anything inside the catch right now for a moment, but here what we have done, we have added one more block after the try and catch. Okay, that is known as the finally block, and this particular block is going to be executed in any condition, whether the exception gets generated or not. Okay, so this is how the exception can be handled. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, that let me explain this try catch and finally a example once again with the help of new class. Okay, let me create a new class, that is exception demo 2. Okay, and let me create the public static void main, and to handle any exception, that we use the try block. Okay, then followed by catch. Okay, this is what we have understood, that type of sorry, the argument in the catch could be the any type of exception like this, and optionally that catch can be followed by finally. This is optional. Okay, so with the try, either you can have a catch or you can have finally. Okay, so one of them you can have, right? So now I'm going to explain this with the help of example. Let's have the, I'm not going to write anything over here, I'm just going to write the s out, and here I'm writing that I'm inside try block. Okay, right? Similar kind of statement I'm going to write for catch, that is I'm inside catch block, and for finally also I'm going to write I'm inside finally block. Okay, right? So now if I run the program, this program, at that time it is going to create the inside the try block and inside finally. Why it is not going to create inside catch block? Because no exception is going to be generated. Okay, so let me run the application, and here you can see that we have inside try block and inside finally block. Now suppose that exception gets generated. Let me write some statement like integer a is equal to 10 divided by 0. Okay, this is not a valid statement, right? It should generate the exception. Here now you must have a question that why I cannot write the arithmetic except I have not written the arithmetic exception over here. Why I have written the exception? The reason being that arithmetic exception is a subclass of exception. That's why I can write the exception over here. Okay, so let me run this and let me show you. I'm running this and it will print that inside the try block that is because of this, inside the catch block that is because of the exception, and the finally is always going to be executed, right? So here it that does not matter whether you write the arithmetic exception or the exception, because that arithmetic exception is a subclass of exception. So this is how we can handle the exception. Okay, that's it for this video.